Folks, if there is one stock that I believe you could buy today, close your eyes, and then wake up 10 years from now and be extremely rich, well, I believe that one stock would be Palantir. That is because day by day they are becoming more and more interwoven into the everyday operations of more and more companies. If you've watched their progression, this trend and the exponential trajectory that they are on is becoming undeniable. And once the ball starts rolling, which make no mistake it has, well, it's unstoppable. And now that we're in a new world where every company is trying to figure out how to deploy AI to stay competitive, well, Palantir is in the perfect storm. And so in today's video, I'm going to go through step by step all of the data that suggests that if you were to just go all in one specific stock, it should be Palantir. And today's video is brought to you by our absolutely free daily email newsletter reports with our latest stock picks and ideas. And over the last couple of weeks, we've had massive runners, so make sure that you don't miss out on any more reports. Link down below. And of course, as always, before we get into today's video, make sure that you do your own due diligence on all ideas presented here on the channel, because if you're the one taking the ultimate risk, you got to be the one doing the ultimate frisk. Okay, so let's begin. Palantir today offers the most powerful data analytics platform in the world. Companies, government agencies, various other types of institutions that use their platforms routinely see massive cost reduction, efficiency boosts, and overall make far, far better operational decisions. If somebody came to you tomorrow and said for $5 a month, we can dramatically improve your income, dramatically improve your productivity, what would you say? You'd say, hell yeah, sign me up. Well, in many ways, that is exactly what Palantir is offering institutions all over the world. Let's go through some of the recent reviews of companies that have used Palantir software and saw success. A rep from General Mills said, quote, we're saving on average about $40K a day, which is about $14 million annually. And it's really only deployed to part of our network. An investment management firm with billions of dollars in assets under management said this, with AIP, we can now process over 100x more leads with the same amount of resources. This has reduced our lead processing time by over 90%. This would have not been possible without AIP. A Panasonic Energy rep said this, Ask Adam, which is powered by Palantir AIP, serves as a vital training tool for our new and even veteran technicians, cutting that 3 to 6 month learning curve down to just a few weeks. 3 to 6 months down to just a few weeks. Very, very powerful. A United Airlines rep said this, we deployed Chime, powered by Palantir software, late last year. We've already saved almost 300 delays, 20 cancellations. This represents millions of dollars of cost avoidance. Lennar, when demoing Palantir Foundry to Lennar, it was totally quiet for 14 months. People were just in awe. All total hell broke loose because people completely couldn't believe what they had seen. A Tampa General Hospital rep said this, Palantir is going to be front and center for everything that we do. The platform is a strategic differentiator for us. And sometimes I know this stuff can seem like hyperbole very, very quickly, but the numbers don't lie. Here are some of the cold hard numbers. For Tampa General Hospital, Palantir software resulted in a 28% reduction in patient hold time in the post-anesthesia care unit, a 30% improvement in nurse staffing ratio, a post-anesthesia care unit predictive model with 95% accuracy, a 83% reduction in time spent managing patient placements, an application for real-time disaster response delivered in less than 24 hours in response to Hurricane Ian. All of these things are real cost savings for the hospital, real time savings for the employees, and real overall outcome and treatment boosting results for the patients. But to really understand the business of Palantir, you really have to understand how they onboard clients and how fast they're able to convert them into long-term, high-paying customers. They start with what they call boot camps, which are essentially interactive workshops where customers go from zero to use case in as short as days. The boot camps are essentially a test drive where clients can test drive the platform and start onboarding it and show just exactly how it can skyrocket their business. Palantir posted 3 examples here of the commercial customer relationship trajectory, all 3 of which had happened. For an unnamed specific large wholesale insurance brokerage firm, they did a boot camp for 16 days, and the company saw the proof of concept, and within 16 days, they signed a 7-figure 2-year deal, and now they are in talks for enterprise-wide contracts. Over here, you have a leading global life sciences company. This one took 6 weeks for a boot camp. This was probably a more complex onboard, a more complex test drive. But after those 6 weeks, you have another 7-figure deal signed, and they are also in enterprise-wide contract discussions. And then you have a leading convenience store chain, 25-day scale, paid pilot, and now they got a conversion and are working on an enterprise-wide contract as well. So the point here, folks, is that once clients do Palantir's bootcamp, give the Palantir platform a nice test drive, well, they want to keep using it and they want to keep expanding it into the rest of their business model, which means a scale up of bigger and bigger and bigger contracts. Why do these bootcamps work so well, though? Why don't other competitors to Palantir do the same bootcamp? Well, the way that Palantir does bootcamps is very, very different from the way the industry usually operates. Most industry leaders, most of the industry players usually just like to show a baseless demo of their product, and they don't even show how it integrates into that specific client's organization. Where Palantir is set up to actually show how it would work in real life by actually doing it. They actually onboard it, train the employees, and the overall turnaround time for results is very, very short. So it becomes undeniable that you got to be using Palantir software. You pay X price today, you get X plus 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 tomorrow. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a moment to scale out for a second. Now, in order to understand why one would have conviction in this stock, you need to understand the overall momentum of the business. And you have to ask yourself, is this momentum strong enough to make the business go exponential over the next 10 years? And if so, well, that justifies a big position in the stock. In order to understand the momentum, you got to first start by looking at the number of US commercial customers. Q2 of 2020, not that long ago, we were at 14 customers, then 18, then 17, then 22, then 34, 59, 80, 103. Today we're at 295. 295. This has been a clear straight upward trend. But probably more relevant and more urgent to look at is the year-over-year growth. Because customer count isn't just expanding, but the rate at which customer count is expanding is expanding. Total customer count is up 41% year over year. Commercial customer count is up 55% year over year. And if you look at just Q2, they closed 96 deals worth at least $1 million, 33 of which were at least $5 million, and 27 of which were at $10 million. Now, I want to take a moment to point you over to the cash from operations and adjusted free cash flow. So in Q2 of 2024, Palantir reported $144 million in cash from operations and $149 million in adjusted free cash flow. Both were a substantial jump from the prior year's Q2. What's the difference between these two? Well, essentially, cash from operations is about day-to-day cash flow, while adjusted free cash flow is focused on what's left after necessary expenses. Adjusted free cash flow is higher than cash from operations here because it includes adjustments that add back non-reoccurring expenses or changes in working capital that temporarily reduced cash from operations. Anyways, they finished the quarter with $4 billion in cash, cash equivalents, and U.S. Treasury securities, and no debt whatsoever. But what you really want to look at is profitability and the trend here. Show me the money. They achieved GAAP profitability for the 7th consecutive quarter. The trend, of course, is aggressively upward, but what you need to keep in mind here is that the majority of Palantir's expenses are front-loaded. It costs a lot of money to build out these platforms in R&D in terms of hiring the right people to pitch it and explain it and onboard it in these boot camps, and it costs money up front to actually do all of these boot camps. But once you've developed the platform, once you've done the boot camps, then all of a sudden you start scaling in to these customers who are now paying you millions of dollars. And what happens? Well, profit margin starts increasing. So when you consider that customer count is exponentially growing, contract size is exponentially growing, and profit margin is increasing, well, it suggests that the overall business and the value behind it is set to go parabolic. Again, my opinion, you can have a different opinion and let me know in the comment section down below. If you do, that's absolutely fine. But that is my view here. Now, I want to talk valuation. So obviously it's run up a lot. So there's this idea of, well, it's too late to buy. I missed the boat. Now, as somebody who has gone on here on YouTube and publicly said that I believe in Palantir at pretty much every single price level since it IPO'd back in fall of 2020, well, I got to tell you that at these prices, even today, nobody has missed the boat on Palantir. You might have missed the boat, the sailboat for super fast, easy returns, but you didn't miss the mega cruise liner for the long-term growth potential here. If you go on the YouTube search and you look up ZipTrader and Palantir, you can find years of me talking about Palantir and saying that I believe it's a strong buy at basically every single price, whether it was at bull cycles trending towards all-time highs or it was at the worst bear cycle in the last few years where it traded all the way down towards $4. Well, I said, it's a buy, it's a buy, it's a buy. I believe that at every single price that Palantir has ever traded at, well, that price was justified because I believe that Palantir over the coming years is going to exponentially grow so much that every single level it's been traded at will have looked like a great deal. Is that a guarantee? Could I be wrong on this? Certainly. But if you look at the overall numbers, I think you may just come to the same conclusion that I've come to. I've made videos on Palantir at $4, $5, $6, $7, and in those videos, and if you look at the comment section of those videos, people say things like, oh, Palantir is going to crash under the debt that it doesn't have. Palantir is a useless meme stock. Blah, 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 always ignoring the actual numbers behind the company. And likewise, during bull markets, people will say the same thing. But let's go ahead and look at some of the traditional valuation metrics here. Take a look at the forward PS ratio. Even though the stock has basically tripled since the beginning of 2023, well, we are still trading well below levels reached in 2021 and 2022. And these are forward estimates for just a year based on analysts, which I believe are undershooting Palantir's potential. I think it's probably true that if you look out 2, 3, 4, 5 years, well, I think that Palantir's forward PS ratio is much, much lower than this, probably dirt low. Again, remember, when you're looking at forward ratios, forwards are taking analyst expectations into account. If the analysts are undershooting something, well, something's going to look more pricey than it actually is. But even if you take the analysts' expectations at face value here and you say, yep, the analysts are right, well, still, we're not trading that expensive versus where we've been historically, especially considering that Palantir's quarterly revenue growth is exponentially scaling right now. Now, again, a lot of the arguments that we heard against Palantir back here when we were trading much higher, well, those arguments have really evaporated and have aged very, very poorly. The arguments, well, they were things like, oh, clients are all going to go to other competitors. Oh, military is going to stop contracting with Palantir and the whole house of cards is going to collapse. Oh, debt. The company is going to drown in debt that it, again, doesn't have. Oh, share-based compensation to execs is going to tank the stock price permanently. Folks, none of this has played out, and analysts' expectations have been beat over and over and over. So in totality, folks, Palantir stock, in my opinion, is the most obvious underdog and most underhyped stock in the stock market. Now, I know what you're thinking, underhyped. Palantir, what the hell are you talking about? Well, while it's a very popular stock on YouTube, it's anything but in the overall stock market. There's a lot of folks on Wall Street that will look at Palantir and admit, yeah, the customers are very happy. The products are very powerful. The overall business is scaling a lot. But they'll say, I can't buy it and I will recommend against buying it because A, I don't agree with the politics of the leadership. Or B, I don't agree with the customers that the leadership has chosen for the company to work with, whether that's the Department of Defense, ICE, any other number of dumb, controversial opinion that goes against Palantir. In 2024, the reality is that Wall Street does like to play politics with companies, but companies that are taking in huge amounts of money and have the most powerful platforms on earth, well, they're going to win regardless. At the end of the day, it's the customers and the products that matter, not the politics of those who are investing in these stocks. Anyways, folks, that caps off today's video. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.